Welcome to my 7-step guide for building new features into existing projects using AI-assisted development, or what is coming to be known as vibe coding. And in order to demonstrate this 7-step process, I'm going to be vibe coding a feature into my own website. This is a real thing that I want to do, and I'm hoping to do it right now. I'm going to add a blog to my website, zazencodes.com. What I'm talking about is really AI tool agnostic. This will apply to all sorts of tools like Windsurf or Klein, which I have a video on, but today I'm going to be using Cursor. Step number 1 is to have a clear spec for the new feature that you're going to be adding. So here's my website, and what I want to do is add a blog, and I want to have a link right here in the header that links out to the blog, so that when we go to the blog like this, we end up on the blog. And I want this to be like an index of all of my different blog pages, and then I want the pages themselves to be available like in a subfolder on this page. So that's my very clear spec, and I want to articulate that in text. So I have that done here. Blog content should live on blog. Blog posts are markdown files, and they're going to live in this area on my local computer. I'll show you that in a minute. And so this is an example of a file name. And then I want the URLs to be slugs, dash separated based on the file name. For example, this. And showing examples to language models is really great way to get them to do what you want. Step number 2 is to make sure any current changes are committed to version control. So here I have my local source code, and if I say git status, I can see that I've modified a file. I'll say git diff to see what that is, and I want to make sure I've committed this so that everything's clean. I have a little helper command called git q that can do that really quickly, and so now I've committed. I'm working with a clean slate. Another bonus thing we could do is, like, right now I'm on my main branch, but we could go ahead and create a feature branch. This is optional, but I could say git checkout-b and then feature, and I could call it something like, let's say, blog. And now I'm on this feature branch, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Step number 3 is to understand the code base. An extremely powerful way that I would recommend is to use an AI-assisted IDE. So we're going to open up Cursor and ask it about how our code works. In order to do that, I'm going to type cursor space dot, and that will open it in the current project for me. This is my project, and I'm going to ask it about how this works. Hey, so I've opened up this project. It's a Vue project with Firebase. Can you have a look in the source folder and let me know how this code works? I'm trying to add a feature, and I need to understand just the general what's going on here and what files to edit in order to add the feature that I want to build. What I want to build is a blog post, but I don't want you to write any code for that. Just explain things to me and how you might want to, structure that or add it to this project. So this is the vibe coding deal, right? It's like you're just kind of having this conversation, and you can see the length of text that I've just spit in here. This would have taken me a lot longer to write. And also my language, notice how it was kind of conversational, and I'm not really needing to be that careful with how I've structured this. So we're listing our directory. So since Cursor is working in an agent mode, it can really start just like looking at what's going on and understanding things and digging in as needed. So now it lists out the directory for source, rather, just like the specific source code for the application. And it starts reading some files. It's read this firebase.js, and it looks like that's pretty much all it did. And it's explaining generally what's going on. For example, we're using Vue Router, we have Tailwind, and all this is going to give me an understanding of like how this project works if I wasn't familiar with it. It also noticed that I have a markdown setup, which I definitely want to use, and it's really cool that it found that. I could also go ahead and ask a follow-up question. Hey, so I want to put content for my blog as a markdown file. Where do you think I should add that content in this project? Where would you put that? Don't actually build anything yet. Just let me know what you think. So it's seeming like it wants me to put it in this source data folder, which is would be here. Okay, fair enough. I don't want to put it there, but oh, it's okay. So it's giving me another option, a new content directory at the root level. Yeah, and this is definitely what I'm looking for. I'll be wanting a structure like this. Anyway, so I think this is an important first step that will lead us nicely into the next step, which is to craft a prompt to build our feature. So I'm going to click a brand new chat here. We're going to be making sure we're in agent mode so that we have all these awesome cursor features of being able to source our like look through different files in our project, select certain files. So let me go back and find this sort of spec which we talked about earlier. I'm going to make sure I copy that and I'll paste it in here, and I'm going to start building the prompt out around this. So I'm going to start with the general task. Build a blog into this Vue application. So if I go into assets, I'm going to make a new folder here, and I'm going to call this blog. And I want to put a blog post into here. So I want to make sure this example file is actually here inside of this folder. And I'm just going to say .md, right, like that. This file, I want this file to exist. So let me go back to my code here, and I have a blog ready to go. This is just in a different part of my computer. And I have this blog post.md, and you can see it down here. It's just my blog in markdown format. So what I'm going to do is copy this over, and I will copy, it's called blog post. So if I do that, and then I sort of go back to cursor, I should see that file. So this is my blog. I just copied this in here. So this is going to be the blog I want to render. All right, let me close that out, and we're going to keep building this prompt out. So build a blog into this Vue application. I'm also going to say to use the markdown rendering component that I have in this app already. And I want to make sure I reference that. So I'm going to type @ and I'm going to start typing markdown. So yeah, so I want to make sure I'm using this here. At this point, I feel like we have a good balance between specificity around the parts that we really care about, which is what the feature is going to look like, and using some of our knowledge about the existing application and what we have available, but keeping the general task really in the hands of in this case, cursor, but whatever AI assistant is going to use, so that we're sort of equipping it to be able to make the best design choices. So let's see what this comes up with. I'm going to click send. So cursor's paused because it's come up with the plan and it started to execute that plan. And the first thing it needs to do is create a new folder, source assets blog. That's really strange because I've already created that folder right here. So I'm a little bit confused about why it's trying to do that. I'm going to guide it here a little bit. I'll just say that I already have that folder. Okay, so it didn't force me to run that command, and it's continuing on. So as cursor starts to do its thing, that takes us into step 5, which is to pay attention to what's happening. It's really easy to just kind of go ahead and accept all of these things that cursor's doing and just sort of check the output and then say, oh, great, it worked, or why isn't it working? I think it's 2025, so we got to take it easy on this whole AI is going to do everything for us. I think it's really important to be able to still be like in close with the code base, understanding what's happening. So with as cursor does its changes, I like to just sort of pay attention, just generally pay attention. For example, blog list.view, what's going on here? Well, okay, this isn't a component. It's a top level component. It's with all my other stuff that generally looks like what I want. I can also see that it's using Tailwind stuff right here. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense. And we're using Vue, and this is like the type. So we're using this sort of setup script. So this is the Vue composition API, which is also what I expect. So it seems like it's in line with my project, with what I'm expecting here. This is my router file. So we have a blog like we asked for, and I'm sort of having this slug like I asked for. Like these are going to be the actual blog posts themselves, and we can see this goes to a blog post view, which is over here. This looks really simple. It's basically a view which just kind of like exposes this component called blog post, which let me see, that should be over here. So this is the blog post component. Right, so you see what I'm talking about. We're just kind of following what it's doing, and it's finished. So I could go ahead and accept all these changes, and that's going to bring us to the next step, which is to test often. So let me accept all of these, and now we're going to go back to our terminal and make sure we have this spun up, and I'm going to test it out. So if I go back to my browser, it's going to be running on this local host. Right now it's not online, but I just want to prove that we actually are running this. So I'm going to say npm run dev. This will launch it on my local host. I'm going to refresh this page, and we have an error. So this underscore has already been declared. Okay, this is in the blog post page. So what we can do is just take this error and dump this right back into the model. But let me find this. So blog post.view. Let's see what that is. Okay, that's right on this page. So it seems like it did not like at all what was going on here, which is crazy. It seems kind of nuts. I don't know what it's doing here. Okay, well, we know where the error is coming from, and I have the traceback. So I'm going to say there's a problem on blog post, and I'll just sort of dump that in here. But I got to be careful here. I want to actually reference this file, so I'll say blog post view like this. Let's see if it can figure it out on its own. All right, so we can see cursor identifying the fix. Rather than using these weird underscore variables, it's decided to explicitly name them. Hopefully that helps. And it's all done. I'm going to accept that change. We'll go ahead and try it again. Okay, so we can see the application loading, and so sort of stuff seems to be working like I expect. Let's check this new section. I'm going to go to blog, and we can see blog post as a header is showing up. Okay, that's cool. I wanted to see if my actual blog post is live. Okay, so here's the example we had. I'm going to copy this, and let's paste it in our browser, see if this works. Oh, right. Okay, so there's dashes. This was the spec I wanted. This was the URL I'm expecting. Okay, let's hope this works. Okay, so I can tell that the title's here, and I can tell that we also have like a date. That's pretty cool. But I'm not seeing any content in here, which is kind of weird. I thought I'd see my markdown content. So that does not seem to be working well. So it's actually great news that this didn't work, because this leads me into my final step in our 7-step guide, which is iterate or just straight up retry prompts. So with coding with AI tools, it's a lot different than coding with human input. When you've spent, say, an hour trying to build out what this AI tool just did in like, a minute, you're going to be a lot more invested in trying to fix that code. But with these AI tools, there's really nothing wrong with just throwing out all of our work and trying again. So I can go back to the original checkpoint. I'm going to click restore checkpoint right here, continue, and that's going to delete all of the changes, everything we've been trying to do. So like this doesn't work, the blog doesn't work anymore, it's completely out of our router. We're starting fresh, and the application works, which is good. And we can just retry this. I could maybe just retry the exact same prompt. Let's go ahead and do that. Might this be beneficial? Well, every time a language model runs, you don't know what you're going to get out of it, to the point where people are starting to build systems that execute a single prompt many, many different times on the exact same model in order to sort of find some sort of consensus about like what the best way to, what the best outcome was, specifically with CodeGen. It turns out that is a model that works really well for programming, to run the same prompt many different times, and maybe one time it works, maybe many times it works. It's interesting, this time it's saying let's add a blog link in the navigation menu. That's actually something that I forgot to specify in my initial prompt, and I thought maybe I should have added that. I didn't want to change it because I wanted to demonstrate how running the exact same prompt might give us different results. But that's another thing we can consider. That's when the initial prompt doesn't quite go how we want, we can just go ahead and edit it, restore that checkpoint, or just delete all the code, reset the Git branch, however you want to do it, and retry the command, but slightly change. So this would be more of an iteration approach. So it seems like it's done everything we've asked it to do. It's added a blog link in the header of our application. Okay, so I'm going to accept everything. Pull this out, accept all, and let's see what our application's doing. So we've got this blog link, and if I click on that, it looks like it's broken. Can't read split. Okay, that's not fantastic. Let's go into our route. Okay, we can see it looks pretty much the same. Still not working with the markdown rendering, but now I have this kind of button, so I can go back to blog. That's pretty cool. So let's go over to my blog list view. I like using NeoVim, so I'm just going to look at my code in here. So this is where we kind of run into some problems. Content.default.split. It's not really content in here. How do I get content? I'm awaiting this. Okay, let's try and just feed this error in, see if I can figure it out. I'm just gonna dump the error right in here. Yeah, so it's sort of checking to make sure the content exists first. This just could be like an async loading issue with the application. All right, let's give this a shot. Yeah, so it's a weird one. Okay. Thinks it's missing a name. Oh, here we go. All right. So this was that new welcome to my blog fake post. Still not seeing any content here, but now I definitely see my blog posts listed out, which is awesome. Okay, let's try and get this content rendering. I don't see my blog post actually rendering on the blog post page. The list view works fine now, but the markdown content isn't actually rendering. Are you able to fix that? If you want, you can refer to content that I do have working properly. If you look at the topic view. Now the topic view is over here, this topic view page. Here I actually have the markdown rendering. We don't need to worry about that, but the point is I'm just going to reference that. So I'll say topic view right here. Let's give it a shot. I think this last prompt really stresses the importance of particularly the idea of this video, which is building new features into existing projects. Like I already know that I've built this markdown component into this topic view. I know I'm using it. I know it's working here. So I'm just going to say like, okay, have a look, see how I did it there and figure it out. Just do it the same way. This is really also highlights our ability to work like hand in hand with the computer. So rather than letting these AI assistants just like do everything, we're really bringing a lot to the table as developers that can make a lot of difference. Okay, it's still not working. It's still not working. Add some logging so I can try and debug it. Okay, now it's dumping a bunch of debug content. This is actually the string that I'm trying to render right here. Yeah, so this is my blog. Oh, look at this. And now my blog is appearing. That's pretty crazy. So I think the trouble really is just that I've written a Vue application that does some really weird stuff. Because, yeah, I mean, I'm not a great front-end developer. Okay, you caught me, YouTube. I'm not a great front-end developer, but I know when I built this, I had to like do some really weird kind of stuff just to get this working. So let me show you exactly what we're talking about here. Let's go to the blog post view. That's here, and where we have this debug stuff. So this is the brand new stuff that we just started working. What I can do, I think, is just hide this. Oh, you're gonna love this. Okay, so now that it's hidden, yeah, check it out, it works. And the reason is because like Vue, it's just some complicated, where is it? Blog post view, where's hidden? What happened? Here it is. So yeah, so all that's happening is I kind of need to reference this post content in here. Like when Vue detects a reference like this, it will kind of like update. It sort of adds a watching component to this. Anyway, I'm just gonna say hack in order to get this rendering. Yeah. So that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. And but it works, right? So okay, this is all in. And yeah, now it's working. So this is my blog feature, and it's all done. Okay, great. So this is totally working. Let's see if I check my git status. We can see a few files that have changed here. Git diff. We're going to see the changes that Cursor's made. It added this router link. Sure, okay, and we added some stuff down here to the router. And then the rest of the changes were new files. So all these new files got created. We can go ahead and add all these to version control. So let me just add everything. We'll just check that was what I expected to add, including my blog posts here. Okay, that's fine. So I'll say git commit add blog, push that. And that was just pushed to this new feature branch that I created. I could pull that into my main branch if I wanted, but I'm going to keep developing this and make it nice before I deploy it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. And if you found this helpful and if you think this will be valuable for you in your workflow and building things, then I would love it if you give me a like on this video and consider subscribing for more stuff like this. So here's a summary of my 7-step guide for vibe coding new features into existing applications with tools like Cursor. Step number 1 is have a really clear spec of what you want to achieve. This should be clear, at least in your head, but ideally actually written down with like words that are carefully chosen and that are very specific with examples of what you're trying to do. We'll balance that specificity later in step 4. But first, step 2, commit all of your changes so you're working with a clean project with respect to version control, and ideally make a new feature branch so you can start working there. Step number 3 is to understand the code base, and you can use tools like Cursor, like I showed in this video, in order to help you do that. And step number 4 is on building a really carefully crafted opening prompt for your feature. Start with the general task you're looking to achieve, insert that spec that you've developed and written down earlier, and make sure that is balancing the specificity you need with allowing the model enough freedom to be able to, choose best practices and kind of make smart choices, that things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. Also reference specific files using like the @ and make sure those are included in the context to make the model's life easier, especially if it's things that exist in your code base that is going to be difficult for the model to find out. You can make your life and the model's life and basically just make the feature work a lot better if you include that in the context. Step number 5 is something that's really easy to get lax about, and that is just paying attention to what it's doing. Like, what files is it editing? What new files has it created? Are these in the right area of your project where you expect them to be? Are they using this like good modules, things you expect it to import? Like, is it consistent with other things in your existing project? Step number 6 is to test often. This one really goes without saying. I don't think anyone really struggles with testing their application as AI tools make changes on them. It's only natural. It's the most natural thing to do. Just did it work? However, step number 7 is something that I find very unnatural, and that's being able to throw out large chunks of code. You saw in this demonstration, I took the entire output from the first try and just reset it, try again from scratch. I am very hesitant to develop on top of AI generated code. Because as soon as I start building on top of the AI gen code, it becomes like this mix of AI human code that has a lot more meaning to me and is a lot more difficult to throw away. Basically, what I'm describing here is this kind of mindset shift to, okay, this code was written for me instantly by this artificial intelligence thing, and I can just discard all of this. I can just get rid of it completely and regenerate it with basically 0 resources in terms of cost and even time. So let's be careful before we just work too much on trying to get the AI to figure it out and dig in and fix the problem. Maybe the right move is just oh, that didn't work, let's try again. Because at the end of the day, these AI generated things are kind of like rolling a dice. And if it's an easy task, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. But if it's a difficult task, you might have to roll that dice a few times before you get the result you want. Now, if you're not sure about Cursor, but you still want to do something like we did today in the video, then you might be interested in a tool called Klein. I tested that tool out locally with Ollama and using Claude. And I've got a video on that, so you can get up and running with Klein using VS Code, and you don't have to pay any monthly subscription. It's all open source. It's a really awesome tool. You can just plug in your Anthropic API key or try Ollama like I did in the video, but that doesn't really go so well. You can check it out, and I'll leave a link right here. Thank you for watching, and namaste.